I'm Scott Stevenson, co-founder and CEO at Spellbook. When I'm not at my desk, you'll find me walking or biking in the woods.
So Scott, you graduated as a computer engineer and then soon after started a musical instrument company. Could you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to go through that route?
Yeah, sure. So I studied computer engineering at Memorial University.
Yeah.
And in my last work term, I worked with actually a music professor, Dr. Andrew Stanland at the School of Music. So it's kind of a cross collaboration between engineering and music. And he's super innovative and kind of discovered this problem where he was bringing electronic music into the classic musical scene. And he was performing with these instruments that would kind of go on a table, kind of like a DJ, and the classical audience wouldn't really appreciate it or understand what was happening. He wanted to find a way to build an electronic instrument where the audience could really see what's happening and understand the cause and effect of what was happening. I worked with him on a co-op term for 4 months. And we came up with the Mune together. It was actually quite a successful concept. We ended up working on a Kickstarter, getting covered in a lot of different music magazines and things like that. We spun it out into a company, and that was my first company.
And can you tell me a little bit about that transition? So I know we started musical instruments, and now you're the CEO of Spellbook, and you're working with your legal tech, and what that looks like. So how was that transition?
Yeah, so when we were working on the Mune, the instrument, there was a point where I got a legal bill that took about half of the money out of our bank account, and we didn't have that much money in our bank account at the time, but as a new grad, it was a lot of money to me.
Yeah.
And that was just like a shocking moment. I was like, how is anyone supposed to start a company when just getting your company set up and doing the basics, is going to cost like $10,000, and then to protect your IP or get a patent or anything like that is going to be more tens of thousands of dollars. I thought that was really unfair. Because I thought anyone could, start a company. I didn't think you needed so much money just to get the basics done. So that really planted the seed for me of kind of wanting to figure out how to make those legal services more efficient and enable more people to start companies, whether they're a freelancer or starting a coffee shop or starting a big tech startup. I think those services should be really accessible. I ended up meeting my co-founder, two co-founders. So Daniel, who was a lawyer. My other co-founder, Matt, was a designer, and he had run an educational toy company and also did Kickstarter similar to me. And he went through all the same pains of like, oh, wow, it's this much money just to kind of get a company set up and protect our IP.
Yeah.
We banded together to try to create software that would then automate parts of routine document drafting.
Could you just walk us through what exactly does that look like? So I'm a lawyer, I've got my contract, and do I download Spellbook? What does that look like? How does that work for them?
Yeah, sure. So what made generative AI so special, and actually I first experienced generative AI as a programmer. There was this tool that came out called GitHub Copilot. And GitHub Copilot enabled a developer to write code in an editor, and it would suggest the next code that you should write. So you might be writing a little bit of code, and then it would suggest, the next 5 lines that you should write. Sounds really simple. It's like autocomplete, but like super powered autocomplete.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I experienced it was just this moment that I will never forget. Because this thing was thinking ahead of me. It would suggest code for me to write. And at first I'd say, oh, that's weird. That's a bad suggestion. I'm going to delete that. And then 10 minutes later, I'd realize, oh, actually, this AI was foreseeing a problem that I didn't see myself.
Oh, wow.
And I had never experienced that feeling in my life before. This thing had actually sort of outsmarted me and shown me a better way to do things than I was going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about GitHub Copilot is it came to where the programmer worked, which is in your code editor. And that was the moment of inspiration for us because we knew that lawyers worked in Word day in and day out. They didn't want to go to like an app in their web browser or anything like that. And so we were like, oh, this is what our lawyers need. They don't have time to make templates. Every deal is actually very bespoke. And they do want the ability to kind of just change the documents wherever they want.
Yeah.
But with a co-pilot that's there with you in your workflow, it can help you do that 10 times faster. So a lawyer could say, oh, you know what, I want to add a late payment clause to this contract. They could start typing the late payment clause and hit autocomplete, and it would complete the whole clause and would match the style the rest of the agreement.
Yeah.
And they would be totally wowed by that. So that was the first version of Spellbook. It was kind of like this super powered legal autocomplete. We built a lot of stuff after that would, help lawyers spot errors. This became actually an even bigger thing for us. So
Okay.
you can run a contract through like an AI contract review, and it will spot, aggressive terms, unusual things that you might want to negotiate for your client. But yeah, the product very quickly kind of blew up. Within 3 months, we had more revenue from this new product, our AI product, than we had from the past 3 years. And very quickly, in like a year and a half, we had over 2,000 law firms on board from well over 50 different countries.
It's amazing.
And in-house legal teams at really big companies like Toyota as well. And it's been this wild growth ever since. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your kind of philosophy around, or at least trying to get to your product market fit and what that looked like?
Yeah, we had a very specific plan, and I think it generally worked. And I have to give a lot of credit to our team for rolling with it, because it was tough. But our thing was, 99% of tech startups don't make it. They really don't. And so you have to think like, we're doing something incredibly hard that almost no one succeeds at. You can't even just look around you or say like, oh, what are the best practices? Because most companies just don't make it. So we said we're going to stay as lean as possible, keep our burn as low as possible, keep our team really, really lean until we find product market fit. And that means we're going to do a lot of experiments around messaging, around our product, until we have something that really breaks through and is able to have this rapid growth. And we said we're basically not going to scale this company and hire up or raise more capital until we have a product that is being pulled out of our hands faster than we can provide it. That was our metric. So we're like, until lawyers are literally pulling this out of our hands faster than we can provide it, we're not scaling the company. And so we did that for years, and that was
How many people were on your team? Sorry.
What's that?
How many people were on your team while you were doing this?
Yeah, I mean, this was over a period of like 3 years, so it depends on like the exact stage. There was very few of us at first. Started as just my co-founders and I, and then we had a few developers, a couple developers and a marketer who came on real early. We were like 6-8 people for a little while. This guy Matt Drover was our founding engineer, has been with us since the beginning. Kirk Dunphy was our director of growth, and this really, really tight team.
Yeah.
And then we might have gotten to like 12 people or something, but it was very small. And now we're around 40, and we'll rapidly get to 80 probably. But that's very recent that we've hired up that much.
Yeah. I mean, I think if anything's practical that people could take away is really seeing how running a lean team could pay off, eventually while you figure that out. So
exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, as an entrepreneur, and you've had a couple of different startups. I know that requires some mental grit. You've spoken about the differences between, I think, the woodworking mindset versus the Lego mindset. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and how that's helped you?
When we're working on Mune, this fellow's name is Don Taylor. He's an amazing guitar maker, and he makes these beautiful guitars that I've never seen anything like. And he actually helped us manufacture kind of the first wood bodies. And I was this young student. He invited me over to his house, and we were working on these designs, trying to figure out how to build the wooden casing of the instrument. But it was an electronic instrument, so it had all this electronic insides, but we really wanted this wooden casing. And I asked him, I was like, I was just amazed by what this person could do. And I asked him, like, what's the secret? What's your secret? Like, if there was one secret to your work, he makes like the most beautiful guitars I've ever seen, what would it be? And he said, Scott, see that guitar over there on that wall? And I looked over. This beautiful guitar was hanging there. He said, last weekend, I was working on it, and the neck just completely cracked. I don't know if it cracked in the middle or if the neck cracked off the body of the guitar. Yeah. He was like, it just cracked in half last week. And he was like, the most important thing is to not even sweat that for a second. And he said, when that cracked, when the neck cracked on that guitar or cracked off that guitar, He said, I didn't feel one little bit of sadness. I said, this is normal. And I went ahead and I glued it back up and I sanded it and I put it back together. And now it's this beautiful guitar hanging on the wall. He said, that's the secret. And that really stuck with me. And that became kind of our secret, I think, at Rally and Spellbook, is kind of knowing that everything just breaks. Everything is chaos. Nothing fits together like Lego bricks. And when you learn to accept that that's like just how things actually are, oh, it's amazing, because you're like, oh, this is the skill. The skill is not avoiding not breaking the guitar. The skill is not everything being on fire. There's never a point in a business where all the fires are put out. The skill is being really comfortable with everything being on fire and everything breaking and nothing working. And you only need to be a little bit better at that than your competitors. So you never need to put out all the fires. You never need to fix all the broken things. You just need to be like 10% better than other companies at that, and you'll do fine.
Okay. Could you tell me a bit about what's the future vision of, I guess, the legal profession and AI? So I know what Spellbook is doing now. What will it look like in the future?
Yeah. I will candidly say that I think no one knows where this new AI revolution is going. So the most important part of our strategy is actually we can only see so far ahead, and almost literally no one knows where this is going to land. Is this curve going to keep going up? This technology curve going to keep going up? Is it going to plateau at some point? It's really, really hard to know. So the first part of our strategy is, we say we just got to take the blunt axe and chop trees with it today. Don't spend time sharpening the axe, because the chainsaw is going to come out tomorrow. I think the number one thing a business, especially like a small business or any knowledge worker, can do is like wait to master the technology, because you can't master it because it's moving too fast. So I think, pull out ChatGPT or whatever you can get your hands on and just use it and figure out how to use it. And if you're waiting for the moment to master it, or for it to be, I don't know, for people to have it figured out, that moment won't come, because at least not for quite a while, because it's still continuing to change too quickly. So I would say adopt whatever you can, try whatever you can. I think ChatGPT is a very great place to start, and is being improved all the time.
Thank you so much, Scott. I really, I appreciated your kind of feedback, and I have no doubt that future entrepreneurs will be embracing the woodworking mindset.
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk here. It's really fun.